Phosphorus. Only a trace amount, but present. The soil analysis from Police Constable Short's vest is key evidence in the inquiry into the death of Sheku Bio. No phosphorus was present in any of the samples taken from his footwear. The only other place it is seen is on the toe of PC Walker's left boot. This is significant because it's central to the claim of the police that Mr. Bio made an attack on the female officer's life during the altercation on the morning of May 3, 2015, when he was found disorientated in the streets after a party where he had accidentally consumed flakka, believing it to be MDMA. It has been 10 years since his death, but the inquiry didn't sit until 2021, and thus the details of the events have only recently come to light. The discourse around Mark III on Police Constable Short's vest was strange. The presence of phosphorus was either missed or ignored by everyone in the inquiry room. The graphs were displayed and discussed, but the statements or opinion pieces from the supposed soil expert supported the police, contrary to the data. It was described as a dark or dirty mark, which isn't technically true. It's rubber from the shoe sole, like tire marks on a road. Describing it as dirty throughout the inquiry was not entirely accurate, unless we're to imagine it's an allusion to the mar on the police force's reputation, rather than that of the victims. The relative levels of the other common elements were described as more consistent with Mr. Bio's shoes, but copper, which was unique to Sheku's footwear, was not seen on any of the samples from the vest. And the phosphorus, which matched only PC Walker's, makes it far more likely the mark was made by the police officers themselves, potentially in the police station canteen, where they were left together to corroborate their story for several hours after the events of that morning. The numerous medical examinations of PC Short also lacked any evidence of the attack, which is unusual as it was reportedly severe enough to count as an attempt on her life. Photos for medical documentation were taken on the day of the event, a week later, and with further examinations conducted at her request, as she claimed to be suffering from what she thought were mild stroke-like symptoms. Potentially survivor's guilt, and the asymmetry she claimed to see in her face, a symptom of her subconscious self-reproach. Regardless of the reasons, there was no evidence of Sheku attacking her, certainly not as the police described it, and they described it in great detail. Most uncomfortable of all was the demonstration of the alleged stamp. The younger officer performs with confidence for the inquiry, but PC Walker, who would have been a teen or young adult at the time American History X was released, raises his hands in a hopeless gesture, potentially realizing their story was subconsciously reconstructed from the famous Bite the Curb scene. Sheku was not armed when the police confronted him. He had nowhere on his body in a muscle shirt and jeans where he could have concealed the kitchen blade, big enough to be described in one report as a sword. He attacked no one. There were no casualties besides him. He dropped the weapon before the police caught up with him, and was described by many witnesses and police intelligence as walking in the direction of the hospital, where his sister, an NHS nurse, also worked. During the altercation, he was described as having held out his arms, raising his head and addressing the police, who were aware of the potential for this to be a drug-related or mental health crisis. No attempts at de-escalation or negotiation were made by the police. He was given no time to explain himself, and practically the first words to the man upon their arrival were, "Get down on the fucking ground." The turn of events after this is muddled, the chaos palpable. In fact, the bumbling officers, whose testimonies were often childlike in mannerism, had messed up within minutes of attending the scene. CS and Pava sprays were deployed into the wind and blew back into the officers' eyes. PC Short was knocked to the ground in getting too close to the subject. The entire scene would sound like a comedy act if it had not ended in tragedy. Like the horrific scene from the beginning of the 1998 film, Sheku lost consciousness while restrained over the curb. As many as 6 officers were on his back and confessed they applied pressure to his torso as he was showing signs of resistance. Herein lies the danger. If Sheku's case ever makes it to trial, it's tempting to charge it as murder or manslaughter. It's hard not to see the blatant brutality and obvious deception, but seeking a higher prize, a murder charge, could be the case's undoing. Flakka, or Apha-PVP, only rose to notoriety in the early 2010s and as such was only banned in the USA as of 2014. It was almost unheard of in Britain, and this case punctuated its introduction into the UK market. If Sheku had not been killed that morning, he may, like many who have traumatic drug experiences in early adulthood, have turned away from the scene and the dangers therein. He was robbed of that opportunity, enabled by the relatively lax enforcement of street drug laws at the time. The UK has no death penalty, so there is nothing under UK law that Sheku could have done to earn this fate. Regardless, however, few would believe these officers intended to kill the man. Flaka, on the other hand, is known to have a high user mortality rate. Attempting to prove that the blood is on the hands of the police would give them too much rope to work with. What is abundantly clear, however, is that the police officers purposefully obstructed the course of justice. They falsified evidence, defamed the victim in the media, and tampered with witnesses for the inquiry. Police corruption is a threat to the service, the public, and the government, so ensuring the offending officers are tried in court is not just good practice. It's essential to justice for his family, vindication for Sheku's memory, and the world his children and others like them are growing up in.
Put your hands up! Put your hands up! Now turn around!
Black bodies swinging in the summer breeze. Strange fruit hanging